First one to 4, best of 7 here. That is your winner for Sport in Order, as we've got a bunch of topics on the docket today. We got NBA, we got baseball, one NFL for you. But we're starting with the NBA because the playoffs are finally here. And what's here for the first time, gentlemen, is the NBA play-in tournament. So we've seen how it played out at the end of the regular season. A ton of discussion. LeBron James, of course, did not like it. The Lakers in the play-in tournament as the 7th seed with Golden State on Wednesday night. After we've seen how this has played out, Carrington, we'll start with you. Should the NBA play-in tournament be here to stay? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think what we've seen is more teams have a chance to make the playoffs, so it de-incentivizes tanking. The problem with the NBA regular season is there's no sense of urgency. The regular season to the fans, and I would say a lot of times it feels like this towards the players, just simply doesn't matter. So if you can create some urgency the last 10 games of the season, and I mean, we get a great matchup. Lakers-Warriors for a playoff spot. Who wouldn't want that high-level competition? We get LaMelo Ball in a situation we might not have got him in. Sign me up for meaningful NBA games.
Bob, are you in on the play-in tournament?
Well, I'm definitely in on it, and LeBron was in on it last year, and now all of a sudden, because he's part of it, he's not in on it this year. I mean, so he's really changed his tune on that one, but I think it should be around for every single sport that's out there right now, because except for the NFL, the regular seasons in all of these sports are totally irrelevant. I mean, you play 162 baseball games. Why? Why are we playing 82 NBA and 82 NHL games? Why are we playing a regular season in college basketball? People love the one-and-done type of scenarios that this presents itself, and I think it's great for the fans of this. Carrington said, no more tanking, man. You get an opportunity to be in the postseason. You take advantage of that. I love this one-game kind of play-in tournament for the NBA.
Lakers, Warriors, Celtics, Wizards, Grizzlies, Spurs, Pacers, Hornets. That's all your matchups, just in case you want to know. Both of you are in on this. I actually appreciate Fescoe calling out the hypocrisy of LeBron James. Come on, Carrington. You know it's true. All of a sudden, he's in the play-in tournament, doesn't like it. Last year, before when it was first coming out, didn't mind it. Lakers get in there, now he's having beef. I think that's a worthy naming right there, and I don't think we would have heard word one out of LeBron if they were the top seed. So that is a fair name out, and you both had the same take. So I like my prediction. I like my decision here. Fescoe won, C.nothing. I like that Carrington's already angry.
C.'s already playing from behind. I like that.
Small point here. I just want to make a small point. Last year, there was definitely a greater need for the play-in tournament because of the restart. Like last year, you needed it. I think LeBron's argument is over a 72-game sample, how can the 10 seed have almost the same chance as the 7 seed to make the playoffs? Now, I think all three of us agree LeBron is certainly playing now I'm in the situation that I don't like it, but I can definitely see why last year the play-in was necessary and why this year it's not. But I don't care. Go play basketball.
I wish they would have it for baseball, though. It keeps teams with an opportunity to get in late in the year. You're seeing more meaningful games. You're seeing teams playing for their lives. Instead of allowing 8 teams in each conference, you allow 10 teams, and it's 2 more teams that get the opportunity to be in the playoffs. And if you win, you move on. It's good.
The only tweak that I would make is this. To me, the 7 should play the 10. The 8 should play the 9. It's a little unfair for the 7-8 to play that way. But anyway, let's move on here. Speaking of just odd decisions to end a season and trying to make the end of season more interesting, the LA Clippers were throwing games down the stretch. They're resting their stars. They're falling to the 4th seed. I guess they're trying to avoid Portland in round 1 or the Lakers in round 2. You got Ty Lue saying you wanted to prioritize his team's health. There's a week between games here. I'm kind of tipping off where I'm at on this. But at any rate, was sitting players and losing to the dreck of the NBA, was this the right strategy for the Clips? Maybe Lue was right. Bob, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I think he's absolutely right about that because your money is made in the postseason. People don't remember regular season heroes. They don't remember shots at the end of a regular season game. They do remember shots in the postseason, in the playoffs, big plays in the playoffs. Derek Jeter became Mr. November because of what he did. Big shot Bob Orries, not because of the regular season. So I think you got to gear up for the postseason. It's your job as the coach to see how far you can get. You're not, fired and hired based on what you do in the regular season. It's all about what you do in the postseason. And again, legacies are created in the postseason. So I'm with Tyronn Lue on this one, man. Absolutely 100% rest everybody and make sure you're 100% for the playoffs.
C-Dot, do they set themselves up right here? What do you think?
I don't really have an opinion on this other than this is par for the course for the Clippers. They didn't value the regular season last year with Kawhi. I'm a little bit upset. I'm going to tell you a story. So I went to New Orleans last year because I wanted to see Kawhi go up against Zion. Zion was injured and Kawhi was on a second game of a back-to-back. So, of course, he didn't play. I wasted a trip to New Orleans. I hate the Clippers. They're clearly scared of the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't have anything good to say about the Clippers. Nothing. Not a single word.
Okay. See, now you should get 2 points for this, but I can only give you one because that would just be unfair. But listen, I can't stand what the Clippers did here. First of all, you want to play LA early, not late. If they hang around late, that means the team's gotten together. You clip them now. No pun intended. I just don't listen. And Bob, to your point, yeah.
Stop it. You definitely made that pun.
That was pretty good.
That was pun intended. You've been thinking about that since Sunday.
Yeah.
See, both of you.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
That was right. That was brilliant. Calm in the moment, patting myself on the back. Carrington, you're on the board here. 1-1. We're going to your hometown Kansas City Royals here.
Why?
Well, I was watching yesterday live and right in the moment.
Question.
Well, here you go. I've got very little going on. But so Mike Matheny, your manager, is, he's on the list now of a big list of people who want MLB to adjust how they do replay. Jose Abreu called safe at the plate. Replay was inconclusive. To me, it looked clear that Sam Gallagher had beaten Abreu to the plate, but maybe it slid over him. What, if anything, should be done to make baseball's instant replay better? C-Dot.
It should be eliminated. This is the thing. We tried to create this system of where they get the calls right. They don't get the calls right. All it does is waste time. Instant replay has turned sports into us debating milliseconds and still shots. Instant replay has not made sports better. It's made sports longer. It is not a better product. This is where baseball people for so long fought against it because they saw how it works in college football, college basketball, and the NFL, and it has not made any of those products better.
Get rid of it is a bold take. Interesting, Bob.
Well, I think they could actually talk to somebody in New York. Does anybody really believe that box is hooked up to anything that the umpires have the headsets on? They're just out there talking to themselves. Until I see like a cord plugged in, I'm not going to believe that there's anybody on the other end of that line. But if there is somebody at the other end of the line, the way we can do it is have more transparency in baseball. Have those conversations live. The radio audience, the television audience, the in-stadium audience should all have the opportunity to hear what is going on and what the discussion is. The biggest problem that I have with instant replay, not the fact that nothing was overturned yesterday. The umpires left the field and never told the manager why. They just left the field, said safe, and left. There's no accountability and there's no transparency. Until we get some of that with instant replay in Major League Baseball, it's going to continue to be a joke.
This is interesting because that would be very vulnerable for MLB to actually have the conversations be available, but that would be great entertainment. So at least you'd be entertained during the process. Where's the common sense rule? It should not take as long as it takes. Looking at it, okay, he had the ball, he beat him to home plate, you're out. I thought it was clear that Abreu was out, even though
had the common sense rule pre-replay. But because we have these 1080p televisions, we thought that now picture clarity was going to magically solve all the problems in sports. It's only created more confusion. We spent 7 years trying to figure out what a catch was in the NFL. Did we not? We had all the resources in the world. We still can't define what a catch is or what illegal or what roughing the passer is. Instant replay has been a negative in sports, not a positive.
Okay. You can't get rid of it. You have to be able to balance the technology with more human talent here, more common sense. Maybe we need people who can actually figure out both in real time. I think
we should just leave it to a fan vote. If you applaud loud for safe, just do what the fans say. You're going to win your home games. You're going to lose the ones on the road. At the end of the day, it's all going to even out anyway, right?
Yeah, well, Carrington, I like your take, but I also think that we can't get rid of it. You got to figure out how to use it. They haven't figured out how to use it best, so it needs to stay around and it needs to be implemented in a much more succinct, rational fashion. Fescoe, you get the point. 2-1 as we go to question 4. Bob, you're up. The Oakland A's, they're drawing flies forever here, and they've got one of the worst stadiums in baseball, and MLB finally saying, okay, Oakland, okay, athletics, you can look for somewhere else to play baseball. Where should the A's play what's been a great brand of baseball for many years and still nobody really goes? Bob, you got a good spot for the Oakland A's?
Well, I've got two spots that I think you can look at. I think obviously Portland, Oregon is always going to be a top spot for Major League Baseball. I just think it's a great city, and it really only has one professional team with the Trailblazers. So you get the opportunity to add baseball in there. I think it would be great, kind of filling that gap between, I guess, what would be at that time then, Southern California and Seattle with another American League team. Just move them up to the coast where they can be all loved up by the folks in Portland, because it's one of only two teams then there that are, residing in that town. And the other town would be Las Vegas for me. I just think that is the growing market right now with sports gambling the way that it is. That's the home base for it. Everybody seems to have success when they go to Las Vegas from building a venue standpoint. It just seems like an easy fit for a baseball team right now. So if you're not going to Portland, send me to Las Vegas.
Carrington, Portland, Las Vegas. You got something else?
I agree with Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas makes a lot of sense when you think about baseball and it being a summer destination kind of place. I mean, everybody would want to go when their team is playing a weekend series in Las Vegas. I'll throw Nashville in as another market. I think Nashville could support a baseball team. I think we've seen they've done a really good job with hockey. They've done a really good job with the NFL. I'll throw Nashville into the mix for some of the same arguments that Bob made for Portland.
I will say this, Montreal has always been at the top of my list for relocation, and obviously Tampa's kind of in conversations with Montreal and potentially going up there. But this pandemic has changed my thought on that. We're looking at, a team in the Blue Jays that can't get to their home venue because of rules that are different in Canada than the United States. We're looking at an NHL playoff season that's kind of in purgatory right now. We don't even know what's going to happen with the Canadian teams, and their basketball team is playing games in Florida. So while I would love to say Montreal, I think right now by this pandemic and what has happened over the last year and Canada having different rules, I think it would be tough to move another team up to Canada.
Yeah, Montreal's an interesting option. So is Portland. So is Nashville. I hate the Vegas option. Who wants really, Carrington? You want to go to Vegas in the summer when it's 1,000 degrees and sit in a dome? Like to me, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
What's the difference than sitting in a casino? You're sitting inside to avoid the heat, one way or the other.
But who goes to Vegas in the summertime? Like, give me a fall, give me a spring, give me a March Madness.
Summertime. What? Why do they have all those pools on the top of the roofs?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What kind of comment is this?
You don't sit the pool when it's 120.
Don't give me a point. Don't give Bob a point. You have a negative point. That's what you have. You have a negative point.
I'm actually okay with no point on this question because both of you are just sitting there with this Vegas thing, and Bob's saying Portland, but Montreal, but maybe not. So actually, we'll punt. We'll keep it 2-1.
Of course.
I'm completely okay with that. There's no problem. We go to question 5. No point on the baseball.
Sport in disorder. This show has
sport and amazing ability to pivot in any direction in any moment. That's why everybody loves it. Hey, one more baseball question. We're 25% of the way through the season, Carrington Harrison. You're up first. Who's your early season pick to play in baseball's World Series? Give me your 2.
I'm going to pick the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox to simply pander to you to give me this point to tie the game up. Bob can have the rest of the time. I'm going to go the Chicago White Sox, who I think right now are the best team in Major League Baseball, and the Cubs are going to get things cooking, and they're going to play each other North Side, South Side World Series for all the ratings.
I mean, that's an interesting take. The Cubbies are hanging around 500, and maybe they do get aggressive here.
Get hot, that's what I'm saying. Get
hot.
Well,
why not? Just for the pride. Bob, you got a better answer than that? I think you might.
I do. I'm going Yankees and Dodgers. I think that's what Major League Baseball wants. I think that's what Major League Baseball needs right now, to have their two big market teams in it. I think the Dodgers are going to be just fine, even going through the losing that they've been through. They're still the best team in all of baseball. And I think the Yankees are going to get hot as well. They've got a ton of talent over there. And what would Major League Baseball do right before a potential work stoppage with Yankees and Dodgers? It would be a fitting way to have a work stoppage and lead into a work stoppage to have the two biggest markets involved in the World Series.
See, this is just this feels really off, but I got to give Carrington the point here because bottom line is we do not need more Yankees in the World Series or more Dodgers in the World Series. I am tired as hell of that. Give me a Cubs White Sox World Series. The ratings would be through the roof. Everybody
for Chicago maybe, but nobody else would care.
Cub fans everywhere. They're in Arizona, they're in LA, they're in New York, they're in Florida, they're in Botswana. There is no doubt. The ratings wise, the Cubs being in would be straight enormous. And hey, we do not need to see the Yankees and the Dodgers again. We've seen enough Dodgers in
When
the
was the
World
last?
Series.
We haven't seen that since the 70s.
No, well, not the
or
actual
early
series,
80s, I guess.
but we saw the Dodgers in the World Series last year, and we saw their fans getting there in the third and leaving in the seventh.
The World Series was in Texas. There were no
I
Dodger fans
understand.
there
I understand. But
why did you? Well, actually, you lost the point. Let's move on.
Question 6. We're tied up. What are we tied up at 2 here? This is a battle royale. Question 6 with 2 to go here. All right. NFL rookie camps are over, and we've had our first look at the 5 first-round draft picks. We all, I think, know that Trevor Lawrence is going to play week 1. I want to know who's the last one to take the field. Lawrence, Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. What NFL rookie first-round quarterback will be the last to make his NFL start? Carrington, you're up.
I'm going to pick Trey Lance because I only think he starts this year because of injury with Jimmy Garoppolo, which isn't a bad bet, just given Jimmy Garoppolo's injury history. But I actually believe the 49ers, what their plan is to play Jimmy Garoppolo this year, because I do think they can get back to a Super Bowl, and then they'll trade him at the end of the season and sort of move out of the way for Trey Lance to start. So I'd probably say Lance is 1. I think Mac Jones is probably 2. I think that Andy Dalton is probably going to start for the Bears, but by week 5, Matt Nagy will realize that Andy Dalton is starting for the Bears, and then he'll start Justin Fields.
Interesting. So you got Fields 3rd. All right, Trey Lance. Bob, where are you going?
I'm going to go Mac Jones on this one. I think of all the quarterbacks that were drafted in the top 15 or wherever Jones ended up, I just don't think he's ready right now. I mean, how can you start a guy who walks that fast out of the dressing room and goes on to stage like that? You just can't do it. So I think Mac Jones is the guy that's got a lot of raw talent that still needs to be developed. And, I know Cam Newton only threw, 8 touchdown passes last year, but I still look at Cam Newton. I'm like, you got to have some talent in there, man. I want to see it. And I just think they're trying to recreate Tom Brady with Mac Jones, and I just don't think you can go back to that well.
I'm more with Fescoe here. First of all, Garoppolo gets injured every day getting out of his car, so I think Trey Lance will find his way onto the field. Second of all, from Belichick's standpoint, the dude's always trying to win, and I think he'll be patient and wait. I think the Justin Fields thing is super interesting because I don't think the Bears are going to be racing to get him out there because it does not give more job security to Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, but that's a whole nother topic. Fescoe 3-2. Can Carrington tie it up and make this a draw? We shall see. That would be a very interesting end to Sport and Order. But here we go. Question 7. LeBron James thinks that Steph Curry deserves to be the NBA's MVP this year. He led the league in scoring, but the Warriors, of course, are fighting for their playoff lives. They're an 8 seed. I'm asking, what should the proper criteria be in deciding who deserves to win the MVP? We fell out of order here. So, Bob, you're going first here. Give me the proper criteria of how they should judge this award.
Well, I think it's the person on the team who does the most to help their team win. I just don't think you can be the MVP on a team that doesn't have success. If you're the best player on the 10th best team in the league, does that qualify you to be the most valuable player? No, because I still think at the end of the day, this is a team sport. All 4 sports are team sports. They're not individual sports. And so I think you have to give the MVP award to the guy who's the most valuable player that helps his team win basketball, baseball, football, hockey, whatever it is, games. I'm not for giving the MVP to a guy whose team is 40-40 on the year.
Interesting. All right, so wins matter more than anything else. See that?
I just want to read something to you guys really quickly. So Steph Curry led the NBA in scoring this year, right? So obviously he was the leading scorer on the Warriors. Let me give you the rest of the group. Wiggins, Kelly Oubre, Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, Eric Pascal, Kent Bazemore, Draymond Green was 8th. Jesus couldn't win with that roster. What are we talking about here? Steph was the best and most dominant player in the NBA. It's not his fault that Michael Porter's not on his team or Jamal Murray's not on his team the way that Nikola Jokic has. So what are we doing here? Steph Curry was the best player in the NBA. I would vote for Steph to win MVP, but I think it's going to be Joker or it's going to be Joel Embiid from the Sixers because that's how we always give out MVP.
What's your criteria then? Is it just best player then? Wins are down the road?
I thought Steph was the best player. I also thought he was the most dominant player this year in the NBA. So to me, that's the most fair way to do it. I'm not going to penalize Steph because he basically played with the Knicks. And not like this year's Knicks. I mean, like 2 years ago Knicks.
Like the Porzingis Knicks?
Yeah, this team is terrible. Anytime Andrew Wiggins is your second, Wiggins and Oubre are the second and third best player on the Warriors. The Warriors are the worst team in the league with Steph. That's what they are.
Well, it's good that Wiggins is finally hitting his stride after all those years in Lawrence of not doing anything. I mean,
I'm with Carrington 1,000% on this. Mike should have been the MVP when the Bulls went 40-42, and he averaged 37 with 200 steals and 100 blocks. Steph Curry, you were awesome this year. LeBron knows what he's talking about. And by the way, if LeBron had his way on this, he would have won way more MVPs than he's won, and he should have, for the record. This means that for the first time in sport in order history, we are ending in a tie. 3 apiece. Carrington and Bob Fescoe, morning and afternoon on the same station. You guys get to be champions together right now. I mean, Carrington, you're shaking your head, but you get to look at this, a double winner.
We're both
never
winners.
happened before. You participation trophies for everybody.
I swear to you, this is like 30 minutes before my show starts, and this is what I've decided. I'd rather lose than tie. I'd rather lose. This is what I've spent my time doing. I don't have a lot of time, but I chose to give it to you, Carm. You call me up and say, hey, Carrington, I need you. Come on, Sport and Order. You're going against Bob. I'm like, yeah, I want to compete against the morning show guy. And it's a tie.
It's the way it works sometimes.
We're both winners, Carrington. Just enjoy it, man.
You're a winner. It says winner above your
head
right now.
Right above our head. Winner. It's great.
That's the W. Gentlemen, thank you. And thank you, more importantly, to anybody who checked out Sport and Order today. Every Monday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central. We did record a little early today so Carrington could do his radio show. See that? We appreciate you making time right before your show. You do get a gold star for that, but you are going home as a co-champion. Co-champions, nothing wrong with it. It's happened in the Big 12. It happened to you today. The Jayhawks are once co-champions. Maybe Missouri will be someday too. Bob, you're the man. Great to see both of you.
See you guys.
See ya.